The British pound is down with 1% against the US dollar today. Do you guys remember this massive slide in the British pound? That happened on the back of the mini budget introduced by the former Prime Minister Liz Truss and her Chancellor. Now that was unfunded spending that caused the market to spook, and they sold a lot of UK government bond, and the yields actually soared at that point. It reached as high as 4.63%. Now we were roughly around 3.13% before that mini budget, and you can actually see here that bonds have come back, and the yield is not too much different to where it was just ahead of that mini budget. So I would say the risk that we had there related to the pound and the boost we subsequently got from, replacing the PM with Rishi Sunak, that has been played out. So I don't really see Rishi Sunak and his government on its own being able to there's not too much more to gain here. In other words, that specific risk we had to the British pound has now been eliminated from the market. Now we're at the upper end of this channel, and this channel has been dominating here since February of this year. And just using with the help of this channel is effectively telling us to be short roughly around 116, with possibly stops just above this level, maybe at something like 117.87 or so. And then targeting the other side of this range. If we would go all the way out down to the other side of the range, we would reach 107.47 for a risk reward ratio of about 5 times the money. The ideal situation would have been actually to short up here, but we could potentially see this high actually being revisited later this week. Because in the very short term, we are dealing with an uptrend. So we might just go a little bit lower and then eventually push higher, which can give that opportunity to short sell if you wanted to. Something that could spike the price to the upside is the Fed rate meeting, and you have as well the Bank of England rate meeting. So for the Fed right now, everybody's positioning themselves for a pivot. You can actually see that in something like the Dow Jones that has gained strongly over the last couple of days and weeks, because people do think that the Fed is going to raise interest rates with 75 basis points in the meeting this week, and then after that effectively tell us that they're going to increase interest rates, but with a lesser amount than 75 basis points, something like 50 basis points. And that's what's being priced in now. And we also seeing that in crypto with Ethereum soaring. But many times what happens is that we have the classic buy the rumor, sell the fact type price action. And if you look at things like the Dow Jones itself, we are trying to reach its upper end of this channel, and as well with GBPUSD, we're at the other end of that channel. So things are starting to tilt towards, in this case, the dollar outwards. Now, as for the Bank of England rate meeting as well, if you look at that specifically, people think that they're going to raise with 75 basis points and then very likely turn dovish after that. In the case of the Federal Reserve, people are not as sure if they're going to turn dovish or not. And there's even some bank analysts that think that the Bank of England could surprise already by just increasing interest rates with 50 basis points instead of 75 basis points. And overall, people are far more dovish and bearish on the UK economy versus the US economy. So that as well does suggest that we should be trading lower. So I think independently of this channel here in the British pounds, I think we're going to trade lower. But as always, when trading, we need to be clever with entries and risk to reward ratios and stop loss levels. And that is why this specific area here is what I find the most appealing. What is your take on the British pound? Share it in the comments.